the informant would not say who. And here, I would like to point out, that's not even that unusual. I know that this could sound shady, but also, like, that's what a doctor does.
Yeah.
There's doctor-patient confidentiality is a real thing. If you show up at a doctor's office with a gunshot wound, the doctor's going to treat you for your gunshot wound. They're not going to ask you, did you just come from a robbery? Like, that's not, they don't care about that. They're going to treat you.
Mm-hmm. And totally, he could have just been being a good Samaritan. You know, like, he could just have been, somebody walked in with a gunshot wound and, like you said, he just treated him. It's not that he's doing anything nefarious. He's not working with the Mafia. He's just like, hey, some poor kid came in with a bullet. I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah. All right, so here's the big moment, and here's the moment why it's worth having an episode. Despite, it's nice to clear a guy. That's nice, too, sometimes. December 27th, 1961. There is a testimonial dinner for Dr. Vito at Gallagher's, with dinner running $25 a plate. Testimonial dinners, I don't even know if they do these anymore. You come in and you pay your thing, and it's in honor of somebody, and people give all these speeches and say how great they are for the community, whatever. Mm-hmm. Apparently, at this point, he must have been well known enough as a doctor that he could have one of these parties. Gallagher's being one of Frank Balistrieri's clubs, the dinner was arranged by Dominic Frinzi, the mob attorney. Also present at the testimonial dinner were Frank Balistrieri, Peter Balistrieri, Buster Balistrieri, John Aliotto, Frank Lagelbo, Sam Ferreira, Steve DeSalvo, John Rizzo, Louis Fazio, Harold and Bernard Klein, Jaime Corin, who I have no idea who that is, and August Maniaci. Somebody there related to Izzy Pograb, who had recently been murdered, who was there, which surprised the informant that reported on the attendance. What was really odd is all these guys are here, which isn't like that's not odd in itself, because of course it's like Balistrieri's club. Mm-hmm. They're all here at the same time as this other group of people. Judge Robert Curley, Judge Thaddeus Pruss, Judge Robert Hanson, Judge Harvey Nealon, Judge William O'Neill, Judge Michael Sullivan, Judge Chris Seraphim, City Attorney John Fleming, Clerk of Court Raymond Fleming, Sheriff George Witkowski, Deputy District Attorney Aladdin DeBrazzo, County Supervisor Joseph Greco, Angelo Provenzano, Union Representatives Ben Barwick, Phil Valley, Roy Lane, Frank Ranney, William Frank, the President of the City Bank, and, various other people. These two very different groups of people together at the same meeting. And we learn after the fact that while on the face of it, this is a testimonial dinner for Dr. Vito, this actually serves as the party to congratulate Frank for becoming the mob boss. This is December 61. He had already been boss for a little while, but this is like the big celebration of that event for him. So he's celebrating that while supposedly it's supposed to be for Dr. Vito. When Dr. Vito realizes that, he is not happy with Frank. And just in general, like, I think it's a weird mix because, some of these guys, we know they're mob guys. They have regular lives outside of that. They own bars and restaurants and everything else. People know who they are. The name that really jumps out at me is Louis Fazio, because Louis Fazio, he has a history of child sex trafficking, burglary, murder, etc. And I don't know, maybe I'm reading into this way too much, but it seems weird to me that he's at the same party as all these like city officials and judges and everything else, because if they should see him, they should be like, we're getting the hell out of here. Like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he was just that well loved, or people didn't recognize his face, or they were like, you're going to have one bad guy in a big party. I don't know, but it's just weird to me that they would all be hanging out together.
Well, and that's part of what makes me question. So, like, a lot of the people that you probably mentioned on the list on the Mafia side, they probably have respectable, like you said, they have respectable day jobs.
Yeah.
They probably mince with some of these people on a regular basis anyways, just from their businesses and things like that.
Sure.
It would be interesting to know what the dynamic of this party was. Like, were the Mafia people like on one side of the bar, and then the, Vito and all these other politicians and stuff on the other side of the bar? Or was this, supposed to be like this was all one big party that they were celebrating together?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much interaction there was. It seems weird to me. And maybe, like I said, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe it's not weird at all because, when you got a room with a couple hundred people, you're going to have that. I mean, if you're in a room with 100 people, there's people in that room who have done wonderful things and have done terrible things. And you don't necessarily know who they are.
You have no idea who the good ones are and who the bad ones are per se. So
there's that. But it's still, the whole thing is weird because even though Frank had just recently become boss, for years, he had been getting bad publicity before he was ever boss. So it's not like the judges and everyone else didn't know who Frank was and they were going to a Frank club. Even that's weird to me, where they would be like, yeah, we're not going to go buy a way out because $25 in 1961 is a significant dinner. It's very weird. The whole thing is very weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that you wouldn't find some other venue for this party.
Well, and it's also weird. Didn't you say that the mob lawyer is the one that actually set it all up?
Yeah.
Which he's
not just the mob lawyer. He's a fairly respected defense attorney.
So he might have just had a relationship with Vito that set this up.
Yeah.
And then it's just weird.
Yeah.
And it almost, just that part of it makes me wonder, was this guy more connected than than the evidence shows?
I don't think so.
Because, just to have all those people at his party, that just seems weird. Because it would be one thing if, the top level Mafia people are there, because that probably being that Vito is a respected Italian in the community, he's going to cross paths with these people because these people are property owners, and not on top of that, like we talked about, I don't know if at this point in time, but what was it, the retired pension type thing that the Italians had?
Yeah.
Half of them were on that board or whatever, the Mafia members.
Yeah.
And Vito seems like a kind of guy that could have been on that board as well. Because he was just a respected person. And so
that makes sense.
I don't know. Once you start going down those names and you start getting deeper down into the lower level Mafia people, the more the muscle of it. Yeah. That's where it becomes weird to me.
Yeah. Something's off. And apparently, again, anytime you're dealing with FBI files, a lot of this is secondhand. There were multiple informants at this party. I don't know who all the informants were, but apparently they were part of this group. One of them told the FBI that when Dr. Vito found out of who, he didn't send out the invitations. When he found out how many of these guys were there, apparently he actually got sick to his stomach because he's like, this is supposed to be my celebration. And clearly this is just Frank inviting his buddies. Mm-hmm. That was not the point. Whether he knew specifically that it was a party to honor Frank becoming mob boss, I don't know. I don't know if Dr. Vito would be aware of that. He probably wouldn't be aware of that. But he obviously knew who the shady people in town were. Everybody knew because they were in the papers all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's weird.
Yeah.
And why would Frank have brought all these people there? For what reason? What was the money going toward? Do we know what the money was going toward? Obviously
no, I don't know.
It was $25 a meal, but I assume that went to something.
I don't know. No. It didn't specify, which led me to believe it probably just went to Frank. But I don't know. I don't know. It didn't say.
It's interesting. Okay.
There's another time a few months later where Frank Belstry was seen sitting at a table having dinner with Dominic Frenzy and Dr. Vito at Gallagher's. Nothing weird going on, but just, that they do actually hang out sometimes. On another occasion, Joe Guerrera was in from Kansas City. And he had dinner there with Steve DeSalvo, Buster Balestrieri, Frank Balestrieri, Peter Balestrieri, Dr.